When you see this, when these words reach you right now, it is not an accident. It's not a coincidence. It's not just another moment in your day. This very instant is a divine interruption, a holy pause, a whisper from heaven saying, get ready, something is shifting in your favor. You may not feel it yet. You may not see it yet. But God is preparing a breakthrough in your life, one that will rewrite chapters you thought were finished and open doors you never imagined could be yours. Some of you listening today have been walking through a silent battle. You've been smiling on the outside while your heart has been carrying the weight of questions no one else knows. You've been faithful. You've been praying. You've been holding on even when the nights have felt long and the answers seem delayed. But hear this, God has not forgotten you. Heaven has not overlooked your tears. And the delay you've been living in is not denial, it's preparation. God often works behind the scenes long before He reveals the miracle. Think about a seed buried under the ground. It looks still silent, invisible. But beneath the soil, life is pushing, roots are strengthening, and growth is happening where no eye can see. And when the right moment comes, when the season aligns, when the conditions are perfect, that seed breaks through the surface with power. Your life is in that same divine process. What looks buried is actually being prepared. What seems silent is actually growing. What feels still is actually shifting. God is getting you ready for something that could not have come earlier and cannot be stopped now. There is a story of a woman who prayed for years for a breakthrough. Every day, she would kneel beside her bed and whisper the same words, Lord, I don't know how, but I trust you. Seasons changed, storms came, disappointments visited her doorstep, but she held on. One day, when she least expected it, when she wasn't even praying for the breakthrough anymore, a door opened that changed everything. She said later, it didn't come when I wanted it, but it came when God knew I was ready to carry it. That is how God works. He brings the right blessing at the right time, to the right heart, in the right season. Some of you have been asking, why is this taking so long? Why haven't things changed yet? But the real question may be this: what is God strengthening in me while I wait? Because breakthroughs aren't just about what God gives you. They're also about who you become on the way to receiving it. The trials you are facing are not walls meant to keep you out. They are training grounds meant to build you up. Each challenge is shaping your character, refining your faith, and preparing your spirit to handle the very blessing you've been praying for. Think of the moments in your life when you thought you wouldn't make it, yet here you are. The battles you survived, the heartbreaks you endured, the storms that should have broken you, but instead shaped you. Every one of those moments is evidence that God has been carrying you, molding you, and guiding you toward a breakthrough that will make sense of every tear you've cried. You didn't survive by accident. You survived because God still has a purpose for you. And right now, even in this moment, God is working in ways you cannot imagine. He is aligning opportunities. He is preparing hearts. He is positioning people. He is opening pathways that were blocked and closing doors that would have led you astray. You are not being overlooked. You are being orchestrated. I want to speak to the person who feels like they've reached their limit. You're tired. You're weary. You feel like the weight you're carrying is heavier than your strength. But hear this deep in your soul. When your strength ends, God's strength begins. When your resources run out, God's provision steps in. When your hope fades, God's promise takes over. He has a breakthrough with your name on it, and nothing, no person, no failure, no fear, no setback can stop what He has ordained for your life. There are moments in life when God whispers, hold on. And there are moments when God shouts, this is your time. I believe with all my heart that you are stepping into a season where God is about to show you why you had to walk through everything you walked through. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are right on schedule with heaven's timing. You may feel like everything is falling apart, but God sees that things are falling into place. You may feel like doors are closing, but God is preparing the one door that matters. You may feel like you're losing, but God is setting the stage for a victory bigger than you prayed for. And when He brings that breakthrough, it will not be small, it will not be subtle, and it will not be something you can take credit for. It will be undeniably, unmistakably, unquestionably the hand of God. There will come a day, not far from now, when you will look back at this moment and say, that was the turning point. That was when God began to move. That was when things started to shift. And you will see that this very season, the one that felt heavy and confusing, was actually the birthplace of your breakthrough. You may not have all the answers, but God has the plan. You may not see the way, but God is already leading your steps. You may not feel strong, but God is your strength. And when the breakthrough arrives, it will not only lift you, it will reveal God's glory through you. Others will see what He has done and find hope for their own lives because of the testimony He is preparing in you right now. So stand firm. Keep believing. Keep praying. Keep expecting. Your breakthrough is closer than it feels, nearer than it seems, and more powerful than you imagine. God is preparing something that will exceed your expectations and silence your fears. The same God who brought you through the valley will lead you to the mountaintop. The same God who held you in the storm will bless you in the sunshine. And the same God who promised to never leave you is preparing to do something in your life that will remind you He is faithful, He is able, and He is always on time. When you see this, take it as a sign. Not from the world, not from chance, but from God Himself. He is preparing a breakthrough in your life. And when it comes, it will change everything. There are moments in life when God works so quietly, so gently, so invisibly that you begin to wonder if anything is happening at all. You pray, you wait, you hope, and yet everything around you seems unchanged. The silence makes you question, the delay makes you doubt, and the stillness makes you feel as if heaven has gone quiet. But what you may not realize is that God often does His greatest work in the places where you hear nothing and see nothing. The silence is not a sign of absence. It is a sign of preparation. God is arranging pieces you cannot see, opening doors you don't yet know exist, and aligning circumstances that will only make sense once the breakthrough arrives. Think about the moments in your life when you felt completely still, when nothing was moving, and you felt stuck between where you were and where you hoped to be. Those seasons didn't come to break you, they came to build you. The silence shaped your endurance, strengthened your trust, and deepened your faith. When you couldn't trace His hand, you learned to trust His heart. And in that trust, God was quietly expanding your capacity to receive what He already planned for you. Sometimes He must quiet your surroundings so He can speak to your spirit. Sometimes He must slow you down so you don't run ahead of what He's preparing. And sometimes He must reduce the noise so you can recognize His voice when the breakthrough finally arrives. God's silence often means He is working behind the scenes, orchestrating things you would never be able to orchestrate on your own. Just like a builder lays a foundation before the structure rises, God lays spiritual foundations before lifting you to a new level. Foundations are built underground, hidden from sight, unnoticed by everyone else. But without them, the structure cannot stand. Your silent season is that foundation. It looks like nothing is happening, but everything is happening. You cannot see the strengthening, the aligning, the clearing of obstacles, but God is working with precision and purpose. Look at the stories of people who received life changing breakthroughs. Most of them went through long seasons where nothing seemed to move. Their prayers felt unanswered, their hearts felt tired, and their hope felt thin. Yet, when the breakthrough came, it came suddenly, beautifully, powerfully, revealing that God had been working all along. He was moving people into place, preparing resources, softening hearts, and making a way where there seemed to be none. If the breakthrough had come earlier, they would not have been ready for it. If it had come later, they might have missed the moment. But God delivered it at the exact time their spirit was prepared to carry it. This is how God works: quietly before visibly, silently before suddenly. You may feel like you're standing in a season where nothing is shifting, but the truth is that everything is shifting. You just can't see it yet. God hides His work until the right moment because what He is preparing is too important to be rushed and too purposeful to be revealed prematurely. The silence is not your enemy. It is your evidence that God is carefully crafting a breakthrough designed specifically for your life. There is a reason your waiting season feels long, heavy, and sometimes confusing. It is not because God is ignoring you, punishing you, or pushing your breakthrough further away. It is because waiting is one of God's greatest classrooms, a place where He prepares your heart for what He has already planned. When God delays something in your life, it is never without purpose. He uses waiting to refine your character, sharpen your discernment, deepen your dependence on Him, and strengthen the very areas that the coming blessing will require. What you call delay, heaven calls development. What feels like a pause is actually preparation. Many people want the blessing, but not the process that builds them for it. They want the breakthrough, but not the endurance that sustains it. They want the promise, but not the shaping that prevents it from becoming a burden. God sees the full picture. The weight of the blessing, the responsibility of the opportunity, the spiritual maturity needed to handle the next level. He knows that if He gives you the blessing too soon, it could overwhelm you, distract you, or outgrow the foundation you currently have. But when He strengthens you in the waiting, when He increases your faith and widens your capacity, you become able to carry what once would have crushed you. Waiting is where God teaches you to hold on to Him more tightly than the outcome. It is where He reveals parts of yourself you didn't know needed healing, parts of your faith that needed stretching, and parts of your character that needed refining. In waiting, you learn to let go of your own timelines and step into God's perfect timing. You learn patience, humility, resilience, and trust, qualities that cannot be rushed or manufactured. They must be formed through real experiences, real struggles, real pruning, and real surrender. And God uses every moment of the waiting season to cultivate these qualities in you. Think of the stories in Scripture and in your own life where God prepared someone long before He promoted them. Whether it was months, years, or decades, their waiting was not wasted. Every delay positioned them. Every setback taught them. Every unanswered prayer built something within them. And the moment the breakthrough came, it didn't just lift them. It revealed the strength and faith they had gained in the quiet seasons no one else saw. Their waiting became the soil that produced purpose. Their patience became the foundation that held the blessing. Their endurance became the testimony that inspired others. Your life is moving through the same divine rhythm. You may not understand why things aren't changing yet. You may feel like you have prayed every prayer, cried every tear, and tried every step you know how to take. But what you see as stagnation is actually God preparing you for elevation. He is protecting you from stepping into something unprepared, from entering a blessing with weak foundations, or from carrying something that requires strength you are still developing. God is too loving to give you something you are not ready to sustain. This waiting season is building you. in ways you will only understand later. It is shaping your spirit, organizing your priorities, clearing your path, and preparing your heart for the magnitude of what God is bringing. When the breakthrough finally arrives, you will look back and realize that the waiting wasn't a delay at all. It was God getting you ready for something far greater than what you asked for. Every struggle you have walked through has been shaping you in ways you may not have recognized at the time. The moments when you felt stretched, the nights you cried quietly, the seasons when nothing seemed to make sense, none of them were wasted. Every difficulty has been forming something in you, strengthening something within you, and preparing something ahead of you. God never allows pain without purpose, never permits hardship without planting something valuable inside your spirit. What you endured was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to develop you for the blessing already written into your future. Think about the challenges that once felt impossible. At the time, you wondered why God allowed them. You questioned the timing, the weight, and the struggle itself. But as you look back, you begin to see that those very moments shape parts of your character that comfort could never have built. Strength doesn't grow in easy seasons, it grows in pressure. Faith doesn't deepen on mountaintops, it deepens in valleys. Wisdom doesn't come from everything going right, it comes from learning through what went wrong. God uses hardship like a refining fire, not to burn you, but to purify you, to sharpen you, to prepare you for a future that requires a stronger, wiser, more grounded version of yourself. Every setback taught you something. Every disappointment revealed something. Every closed door redirected you. Even the people who walked away played a role in shaping your path. You didn't lose them. God removed what could not go with you into the next chapter. You learned resilience from what tried to break you. You learned endurance from what forced you to wait. You learned trust from what left you with no option but to lean on God. These lessons are not small. They are part of the foundation God is building beneath your breakthrough. There are times when you think your struggle is a sign that God is far, but often it is a sign that He is closer than you think. When God prepares a blessing, He prepares the person who will carry it. If He is building something great in your life, He will first build something great in you. The struggles have shaped your heart to appreciate what's coming, your eyes to recognize God's hand when He moves, and your spirit to stay grounded when you step into the next level. Trials create depth. Pain creates compassion. Hardship creates humility. And all these qualities are essential for the destiny God is leading you toward. If you never face the struggle, you would never become the person capable of holding the blessing. If everything came easily, you would not have developed the strength to sustain what God is about to release. What you went through matured you, strengthened you, and aligned you. You may not have realized it while you were in the middle of the storm, but God was shaping you into someone who can walk confidently into the breakthrough He has prepared. The struggle did not steal from you, it built you. The challenges you survived are not scars of defeat, they are markings of preparation, reminders that God has been shaping you through every moment. There comes a moment in every journey where your strength runs out, where your energy feels exhausted, where your heart feels stretched to its limit. You try everything you know, you pray every prayer you can, you push with all the power you have left, yet nothing seems to move. In those moments, it is easy to feel defeated, easy to believe that the breakthrough is slipping away, easy to think that you've reached the end of what is possible. But what you may not realize is that this is often the very place where God steps in. Breakthroughs rarely happen when you feel strong. They come in the moments when your strength ends and God's strength begins. When God is preparing something big in your life, He will often allow you to come to the end of your own ability, not because He wants you to fail, but because He wants you to rely on Him in a deeper, truer way. Human strength has limits. Human plans have limits. Human endurance has limits. But God's power knows no limits. And His breakthrough does not depend on your strength. It depends on His. When you reach the end of yourself, you reach the beginning of what He can do. And His beginning is always greater than anything you could have created with human effort. Think about the moments when you were certain you couldn't go further, yet somehow you did. You didn't have the emotional strength, but peace came. You didn't have the courage, but it rose within you. You didn't have the solution, but a way appeared. These moments were not coincidences. They were God stepping in where your strength stopped. When you look back, you can see that the times you felt the weakest were the very times God carried you the most. He doesn't expect you to do everything in your own power. He expects you to trust Him enough to let His power take over when yours runs out. There are breakthroughs that only come when you surrender, not as defeat, but as a declaration of dependence on God. When you stop striving in your own strength and start leaning on His, you open the door for Him to do what you cannot. Your weakness becomes the place where His glory shines the brightest. Your emptiness becomes the space where His strength fills you. Your exhaustion becomes the moment where His supernatural power lifts you into the next chapter. Some of the greatest transformations happen when you finally admit, God, I can't do this alone. That honest place, that humble place, is where miracles begin. Because when your strength ends, you stop trying to control what only God can handle. You stop carrying weights that were never meant to be yours. You stop depending on your own understanding and start depending on a power far greater. And it's in that surrender that God performs His most profound works. You may feel drained right now. You may feel like the struggle has lasted too long, like the burden is too heavy, like you've fought with everything inside you. But that feeling is not a sign that you are losing. It's a sign that God is about to step in. Breakthroughs come when human strength reaches its finish line and divine strength takes over. God specializes in showing His greatness in impossible moments. He steps into the gaps, the weaknesses, the breaking points, and turns them into testimonies. The moment your strength ends is often the moment your miracle begins. There are seasons in life when everything you've walked through, everything you've prayed for, everything you've endured begins to align into one truth: God has been guiding you all along. Even when the way felt unclear, even when the silence seemed heavy, even when the answers didn't come as quickly as you hoped, He was shaping you, preparing you, strengthening you for a breakthrough far greater than the struggle that preceded it. Nothing you faced was wasted. Nothing you cried was unnoticed. Nothing you survived was without purpose. Every step has been part of a divine setup, a holy preparation for a moment that will shift your life in ways you could never create on your own. When you look back at the path behind you, you will see a God who carried you through valleys you thought would swallow you. A God who lifted you in moments when you had no strength left. A God who whispered hope into your spirit when you were ready to let go. You will realize that the delays were not punishments, they were protection. The unanswered prayers were not rejection, they were redirection. The closed doors were not setbacks. They were divine shields steering you towards something better, something safer, something more aligned with your purpose. Every struggle has shaped a part of you. Every moment of waiting has prepared something in you. Every challenge has trained you to recognize God's hand when He moves. And He is moving. Even now, even in this very moment, something is shifting in the unseen. Heaven is aligning what your eyes cannot yet identify. God is preparing opportunities, opening paths, and orchestrating connections that will bring clarity to everything you've been carrying. The breakthrough you've been praying for is not just coming. It is already in motion. And when it arrives, it will not be small or ordinary. It will carry the unmistakable imprint of God's timing, God's strength, and God's faithfulness. You may have felt tired at times. You may have felt uncertain. You may have wondered whether your prayers were strong enough or whether your faith was deep enough. But your breakthrough does not depend on your perfection. It depends on God's promise. And He is faithful. He is precise. He is intentional. He completes what He begins, and He fulfills what He promises. He has brought you this far, not to leave you in the middle of the story, but to lead you into the chapter He has already written with purpose and power. Hold on to that truth. Carry it into the days ahead. Lean into it when fear tries to whisper doubt, when the path seems unclear, or when the waiting feels heavy, because God is closer than you think, working deeper than you feel, and preparing more than you imagine. The breakthrough forming in your life is not an accidental blessing. It is a divine appointment. It is the evidence that every tear was seen, every prayer was heard, and every step was guided. And soon, you will stand in the place you once prayed for, understanding fully that God was preparing your breakthrough long before you knew you needed one.